Tripping around campus. Yo, what's going on? It's Someone That's Someone, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report was sent in by an anonymous user when this happened, February 9th, 2019. The drug used was LSD at a dose of 150 micrograms. The route administration, orally. Gender, male. Age, 21. For his prior experience, cannabis, smoked in edibles, and alcohol. And the setting, around a college campus. Okay, so today we have another first-time LSD trip, where this took place on a college campus. This user and his friends decided to drop after much planning, as they have been wanting to do it for a while now, and finally found the perfect weekend and day to do it. The trip gives them an experience they've been looking for, with many different personal themes popping up, but also many common themes and effects you would find on a trip, such as many visual alterations, but more notably, increased thought flow, and feelings of interconnectivity. Much of the environment plays a strong role throughout, with nature being the most prominent. There's some funny stuff in this report, there's some trippy psychedelic stuff, and overall, it turned out to be a really good time for this group. They found it enjoyable, and the story really is of a good first-time acid trip. I'm sure you'll enjoy this, so without further ado, let's dive right into this. I've always been interested in taking LSD. There was always something about it that I've been drawn to. Around the beginning of my senior year at college, my friend Jake asked me if I wanted to drop with him. I said yes, but was nervous. After many months of delaying and picking the perfect weekend to drop, we finally decided on February 9th. On the 9th, Jake, my other friend Mike, and I all took the acid in Mike's dorm room around 1 p.m., accompanied by our trip sitter, Kyle. We were playing Peggle on Mike's Xbox for around 45 minutes when I started to feel different. I can only describe it as feeling sort of hollow inside, and I noticed the birds singing outside the window seemed clearer. I was getting excited, so I said we should all walk to the lake, which was about a 15-minute walk from the dorm hall we were in. Before we went, we started to assign roles to each other, such as Time Mage, Time Warrior, and Time Warlock. Throughout the trip, we assigned time roles to random people and objects we encountered. This just enhanced the trippiness of the trip, I guess. During our walk to the lake, we passed one of my friends and said hi to her in passing, but it felt so weird to interact with somebody that was not on acid and didn't know I was on acid. During the walk, I noticed the rustling of any dead leaves still left in the trees much more than I would have before. We passed the bush with very long wavy branches, but no leaves or greenery, and I was so mesmerized by the colors and the shape of it. This bush is when I realized and said to myself, okay, I'm tripping. We made it to the lake, and it was frozen. It all looked so fascinating, and I kept on having the thought, this is the way it was meant to be. And I was just so happy that I was experiencing this with the people I was with. After some time experiencing the nature and wildlife, the bald eagle, which inhabited the lake, flew overhead, and its white head shined so bright in the sunlight. Jake and I saw it, but Mike and Kyle didn't believe us. Around halfway along the perimeter of the lake, we stopped to talk and take in the lake for a bit. I saw this swirling type pattern repeating on the ice of the lake. I then began to see this pattern on everything around me, and thought, there really is a connection between everything. We kept on walking around the lake when we came across some ducks. One was a different color than the others, so we named her the Queen of the Lake. The Queen of the Lake always had 2 other ducks escorting her, so we said those were the Queen's high priestesses. The high priestesses were white and shined so magically in the light, similar to the head of the bald eagle. At this point, I was getting really cool perspective and color changes. I could see our college's main campus in the background of the lake, but it seemed so much closer than it really was, and the color saturation was very high. It kind of looked like a painting. Next, we made our way back to our trip sitter's dorm room, where we chilled out. Jake and I sat on the floor, while Mike sat in a chair, and Kyle sat on his bed. Kyle put on some Grateful Dead, and it sounded so amazing, like it was putting me in a trance or something. I kept on looking at the carpet, which was swimming in its own patterns, and I eventually imagined them to be snakes. I ran my fingers along the snake-like patterns and was totally focused on it until I hear Kyle say, "Oh shit." I look over, and he is covered in strawberry milk, which exploded when he opened the bottle. I look at Jake and Mike, and we start laughing our asses off. We must have laughed for 10 minutes straight. It was just so funny to us for some reason. After chilling in his room for a bit more, Kyle said he had to go to work. Things were going smoothly, and he told us he'd have to go in the middle of it before we dropped, so we were cool with it. Jake, Mike, and I start walking back to Mike's dorm room. During the walk, we get the sense that we're not tripping anymore every once in a while, but then it came back full force. I didn't really like this feeling because it was hard to distinguish what was an acid thought or not, but I went with it. Once back in Mike's room, we start using Mike's Oculus VR headset. I don't remember the exact games we played, except Tetris, but they all had to do with bright colors and trippy music. Surprisingly, this was not as crazy as we thought it would be, so we decided to go to the basketball game, which was taking place in the gym. It was getting dark by this point, so you could see the stars. On the way to the game, we're all just looking straight up, looking at the stars. The stars looked brighter than they ever had before, and it almost felt like I was in space. Mike stopped every so often and just stood in the middle of the path, staring at the sky. When we got to the gym, we awkwardly walked in, and it felt like everyone was staring at us. We also didn't realize we got there with only a few minutes left in the game. This made us all a little nervous, so we walked outside for a bit more. We walked through a field, and the ground felt crunchy and squishy at the same time. We all noticed this, but when we went back the next day to check it out, it was just normal dry ground. When we were walking, I started thinking, is this how reality always was, and I'm just realizing this now? And is this reality more real than the reality I knew before? And I felt some sort of connection to the others who have tripped on acid. I thought, I'm seeing what they saw, true reality. This thought made me think of all the effects, like the colors, the patterns, and the movements, as ancient and timeless in nature. Once we started heading back inside, there was a plastic bag in the field, and all of us were freaking out because I was certain it was a skunk. We eventually got the courage to walk past it, and only realized then it was just a bag. Once we got back to Mike's room, we just chilled and watched some YouTube videos and talked for a while. After a while, the effects were wearing off, and it was pretty clear none of us were tripping anymore. I went back to my room and felt pretty clear-minded and chilled out until I eventually fell asleep. Overall, I'm really glad I got a chance to try acid. It was not what I expected, and I couldn't have truly prepared myself for what I was going to experience, but I'm so happy I did. Compared to weed and alcohol, it is a step above, but I wouldn't want to do it all that often, maybe once or twice a year. Thanks for reading.